Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports. And I'm saying that to a lot more people than just about 2 days ago, because that one video we just put out was viewed by almost 600,000 people, and it doubled the size of our channel. It looks like people are finally waking up to how manipulated the media is, and by extension, the pollsters. Now, if you are new here, you may not know this, but there are topics that we touch because we believe in free speech. We believe that you deserve to know the truth about public opinion that no other pollster will touch. And those include things like election integrity, vaccine safety, truth about social issues like abortion and the gender ideology, and the corruption and weaponization of the US government. And because of those topics, it's made us pretty unpopular in mainstream media. We get a lot of slander, and quite frankly, we can't respond to all of it. But if you're happy that somebody is polling on those topics, please make sure you follow us on Twitter at Rasmussen_poll and subscribe to the channel too as well. Also, make sure to check out our other videos. A lot of the news there is still really germane. Things like 28% of the mail-in ballot voters in the 2020 election out of their own mouths admitted to at least one form of fraud. And then there's the fact that roughly an equal amount of Americans say they know somebody in their extended family that died from COVID as from the COVID vaccine. Sorry, YouTube. Let's hope you don't get hit on that one. But this channel is also where we keep alive the healthy discussion about racism and diversity in America. And we have fresh new meat for this topic because of all of the attention that diversity, equity, and inclusion has garnered surrounding the anointment of Kamala Harris as the new Democrat candidate. Now, this might not be our most important topic, but I think you're going to like the results anyways. But if you're here because you want to know the state of the 2024 race and you haven't seen this video, go check it out now. There's a lot of really crazy things happening right now in the polling industry. Now, the headline is that despite all of the fluff and pomp and circumstance that Kamala Harris got, in our polling, Trump was still winning nationally by 5 points in both the two-way and the multi-way matchup. Now, here's a quick point I want to make. This is the Real Clear Politics polling aggregate. It's supposed to show all of the legitimate polls out there when they drop. And we're looking right now at the multi-way 2024 matchup. And I want you to take a look at the dates. Here's us. These most recent results were collected from August 1st to August 7th. That's because we release our results weekly on Thursdays, but we also show you pretty much every day the overnight responses. The only other fresh data on here is basically 1 or 2 days of the Economist YouGov's poll. Everybody else here has data from August 4th or sooner. August 4th is Sunday. I just want you to step back and think about that. Kamala Harris is less than 3 weeks old as a Democrat candidate. She's just selected her vice president. There is basically no bigger week in politics. But where are the numbers? Why are all of the other pollsters not releasing results right now? I can tell you they are foregoing an absolutely massive amount of traffic because people want to know the state of the race right now. It's even worse when you look at the two-way results. We are the only ones here that released any data since Sunday night. You're telling me not one single pollster with all of these deep pockets and corporate overlords and ties to public funding, not a single one of them could put any data out after the Tim Walz announcement? This is absolutely incredible. And, you know, CNBC here put a poll that has Trump up too. But look at all of these blue results. It's almost like they got the result they wanted and they're just going to let it drift. I think that's really suspicious and perhaps kind of scummy. And let's go to this quick. You're all familiar with this chart if you've seen our other videos, but we have added one more night of data. These are each of the individual nightly responses. And you can see that, as I kind of predicted, Trump has settled into a pretty comfortable 3 or 4 point lead over Kamala Harris. He's actually doing really great the 6th, 7th, or 8th. I don't know if that has to do with Tim Walz or it's just noise in the poll. But Kamala Harris got her bounce, and it has faded, and Trump continues to regain support. But here is what we're here to talk about. How familiar are you with diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, usually abbreviated as DEI? Look, we can even put out DEI polling as recently as August 4th to 6th, and not a single major pollster can put out national likely voter 2024 matchup numbers. That's pretty insane. But anyway, 49% of voters say very familiar. Another 35% say somewhat familiar, for a combined total of 84%. Men and women are about equally familiar. 18 to 39-year-olds are quite a bit less very familiar, but middle-aged voters are absolutely aware of these programs. 57% very familiar, another 28% somewhat familiar, for a combined total of 85%. Regardless of how many people say very familiar, pretty much everybody's in the 80s here, including white voters, 84%, black voters, 83%, although black voters, interestingly, are a little less very familiar than voters of any other race about DEI programs. Pretty fascinating. Republicans and Democrats are roughly equal here at 50 and 49% very familiar. They're at 85%, 83%, at least somewhat familiar. And independents are a little less very familiar, but also in the 80s for at least somewhat familiar. Okay, moving on. Is it racist to criticize DEI policies? And 27% of the US electorate says yes, but a much bigger 49% of plurality say no. And those numbers would be bigger, except 24% of people are not sure. Now, I mean, it's a pretty simple question, and we just explained what DEI policies are. So the not sure signal probably should be smaller here. Maybe it's people who don't want to respond. I have a hunch it's probably people who don't want to disagree about something being racist, but maybe I'm wrong. Women are a little less likely than men to say it is not racist to criticize DEI, 46% to 52% for men. And voters of all ages are about roughly equal here in saying no, although 18 to 39-year-olds are a little bit more likely, 29%, to say it is racist to criticize DEI policies. Here are the race numbers. Black voters are more likely to say yes, but it is only about 1/3 of them, 34%. And a plurality of black voters say that it is not racist to criticize DEI policies. A majority of white voters agree. 51% say it is not racist to criticize DEI policies. And only 23% of white voters say yes. The party numbers, there's still a signal, but maybe a little bit more muted than some of our other questions. 44% of Democrats, a plurality, say it is racist to criticize DEI policies, but a third of them say no. Only 17% of Republicans say yes, it's racist, but 63% say no. And independents poll a lot closer to Republicans on this. 18% of independents say yes, 53% say no. And as always, for the biggest signal anywhere, it's Biden approval. 50% of Joe Biden's strong approvers say it's racist to criticize DEI, but 21% say no. And completely reversed, 10% of Joe Biden's strong disapprovers say yes, but 74% of them say no, it's not racist to criticize DEI. But here we go. Some critics of Vice President Kamala Harris have accused her of being a, quote, DEI hire. Is this a fair accusation? And 41% of the country say yes. 44% say no. So it's roughly split. A few more percent say no, and a pretty big 15% are not sure. But yeah, 4 out of 10 voters call Kamala Harris a DEI hire. A plurality of men, 44% to 43%, but a plurality of women say no. 45% say no, 39% say yes. 18 to 39-year-olds are split 42 to 42. And interestingly, a plurality of middle-aged voters say she is not a DEI hire. And 65 and older voters are right there with the 18 to 39-year-olds. White voters are split 42 to 42. A majority of black voters say no, 53%, although a third of them say yes. And among the party numbers, 68% of Democrats, a strong majority, say it is not fair to call her a DEI hire, but 21% of them say yes. Whereas a pretty solid majority of Republicans say yes, 57%, although a quarter of them say no, and independents say yes by a plurality, 47% to 38%. So I think the biggest takeaway here is that even though the press would gaslight you and say absolutely not, even though Joe Biden said it out of his own mouth, Kamala Harris is not a DEI candidate, but the nation is split. A strong majority of Republicans say yes, and independents say yes by a plurality. Pretty fascinating stuff. If you like the video, make sure you like it, subscribe to our channel, comment while you're there, or you can follow us on Rumble. And thanks for watching.